5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good day, good night, goodbye, hello. As I always say, wherever you are in the world, one of those will apply to you. And if, like me, you're wishing you were somewhere else in the world and then you could avoid watching Leicester-Manchester City tomorrow night, we're all in it together. Yes, just when you thought it was safe to start watching football again, it's back. It's back with a bang. And what has happened? Well, I've got to say, he's still with us. Yep, we've not sacked Ruud yet. And it's brilliant. I mean, apparently, I think it's yesterday his press conference was, and he went out and announced what formation he was going to play. Good one, Ruud. Keep up there. Anyway, talking about Ruud, somebody who is in rude health, and I'm very pleased to announce it, is this gentleman here, Jim. Of course, he's one of the pundits here, or pundits, just promoted us there, one of the co-presenters here on LTID TV. He's just been in hospital for some major surgery, and he's come out. Not in that way before anybody says anything. I've got to say, look, I wanted to do a nice picture for him. So I tried to get a picture of him in a hospital bed as a patient. Now, I don't know what site I went on to, but they've put him in bed with the doctor. I mean, a bit like a carry-on film, isn't it? But he went... If Jim is watching this to try to recover, it's probably set him back. But I've got to say, it was very nice to hear from Bev this morning, his good lady. She said, "Hi, Chris, it's Bev. Just a quickie to let you know that Jim's surgery went very well and he's now in recovery and resting comfortably. His vitals are great. We all need great vitals, don't we? He will be up and out here in no time," which I'm not surprised about. Doctor said he's not to watch any more Leicester City matches. If anything's going to knock you over the edge, Bev, that's what it will be. So good news is that Jim will be coming out of the hospital very, very soon, and everything has gone well. If you are watching this, Jim, get better soon, mate. Take a rest and don't come back until you are ready. Now, he's one that is leaving hospital. There is one person I think should still, when I say hospital, probably mean more the loony bin. I don't know if anybody saw this on social media earlier, but Craig, unexpected wave of optimism this morning. He's put 50 quid on Leicester City to survive. I don't know what I'm more surprised about, the fact that he's had a wave of optimism that he thinks Leicester will survive, or the fact that he's got 50 quid to waste. If you want to waste 50 quid, mate, send it to me. But if you fancy a dump, this is the place to go, because we're going to be talking at which players will be dumping for next, or do you think we should be dumping for next season? Looking at those whose contracts expire in the summer, those who expire in a year's time, so it's our last chance to sell them. Anybody else we think we can sell, probably know the two in mind that we can actually make some money on, because of course next season we will be in the Championship, despite Craig's wave of optimism. We will probably have transfer embargoes, management plans, PSR points deductions, all thrown at us. So do we promote the youth? Is it now time that all these players, we've heard how good they are coming through Seagrave, should they be let loose on the green turf of the KP? Probably the answer to that is yes, and about bloody time. But we'll find out from my 3 co-commentators today, one of whom was on time, one of whom actually got the time right, and the third one who was late. You never guess which order it's in. Kate, in late.
Well, I'm in first here.
Sorry?
I'm in first here. I can't see anybody else.
No, because I've not brought them in yet. That's why, because I wanted to highlight the fact that you were the last one to arrive.
But no one knows that, do they? You've just told everybody.
No, I've told everybody. Of course they know it. Yes.
As far as the viewers are concerned, I'm the first one here, thanks.
And Ant, you actually were on time and not an hour or 30 minutes early.
It's only going to happen once, so enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I thought I would do that. And the gentleman who normally likes to make an entrance himself, but was, well, let's be honest with you, we're totally surprised that he's got 50 quid to waste. The optimistic, wise old owl, although I don't know about the wise, but definitely the old Craig, 50 quid, mate. What are you doing?
I know. Well, there is an explanation. Can you just?
Yeah.
Can you just put me full screen for a second?
I can indeed.
Oh.
You know what? It's such good fun when these kind of things come off and everybody looks totally sheepy. Look, Chris just can't bring himself to say anything, can he?
Well,
what's that, Craig? That's a good one.
Oh, you've actually been done there, Chris.
So, well,
I'm putting 50 quid on us to stay up.
The thing is, Craig, the worrying thing is that I actually believe that you would have done.
I know. It's worrying all round, but you know, it's good fun when one of these things comes off. In fact, if you were quick, my brother put a notice on saying, surely that's an April Fool, and I had to delete it very quickly.
I did read somebody said about look at the data thing, and it still didn't sink in because you look at that face. I mean, it's everybody's favourite grand. It's like Caracas Potts out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you know. I've got to say, Craig, twice I've been caught out because I was actually impressed. Did anybody see Joey Barton's post earlier?
No.
I've
got him on mute.
Yeah, well, he's got a big long post about he's had an epiphany. He's just watched a game of women's football. It's brilliant. The women commentators were good. He's got it all wrong, and from now on he'll support it. And there's like 4,000 likes on it. So I added mine to it, and then realised what day it was. And even then, I didn't fall in about you, Craig. You think you're going to get away with the rest of the show? You are very much mistaken. Right, two that I'm going to come to at the end. I'm going to save till the end. And one of those, obviously, is whether we'll have the manager still in place or whether we should have somebody else for next season. And, of course, Mr. Vardy, whose contract is up. Allegedly, there's conversations about him possibly staying. But we will talk about that at the end. So let's look at a couple whose contracts are expiring this summer, this June. Kate, come to you first. Daniel Everson. Is he a dump or a keep?
I think he's a dump, to be honest, because we've not used him when we've had the opportunity to do so. I mean, we used Danny Ward recently when I think he must have. If you're below Danny Ward, you're having a rough time. So I would say that really we just need to get rid of him, to be honest. If Mads goes in the summer, we will obviously need another number 2. But I think we should go to market on that, really.
Would you not promote Daniel Leverson to number 2? I mean, I think he was ill, wasn't he, when we were picking Danny Ward?
Oh, was he? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, potentially, it depends what wages he's on. It depends if he wants to leave himself. It depends what the market looks like. And it depends on this transfer embargo, really, if we do or don't get it.
Well, exactly. Just to let you know that our weekly payroll for everybody is 1.2 million. The average weekly salary at Leicester City is 43,552.
I thought you were talking about the show for a minute.
That's the average weekly salary. Total annual payroll, and this is just for the 3 of you, 65,676. Obviously, that's off the internet, so believe it or not. So, but Kate, would it not be cheaper to keep him rather than have to go out and pay somebody else to come in when we've got him sat there? Possible if we extend his contract, of course.
Well, yeah, you'd need to do a new contract. So that would be a new negotiated deal on current prices and terms. So it depends what we can get in the market. But I don't think obviously Jakob has been put in ahead of him for number 2. So I can't imagine he's high on the list of the pecking order, really. Like he's always been a number 3 for the last few years. So yeah, I can't see that being a great option, because we will have to negotiate terms in a new contract, and he's not going to take a pay reduction necessarily, because he's probably not on a great deal anyway. But like anybody, they probably want to negotiate better.
That said, I think under a transfer embargo, you're allowed to maybe extend contracts where you can't bring people in. So maybe that's an option.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
An extend though, isn't there? Or there's new, because it wouldn't be an extension necessarily unless you get to him before the end of June, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. I'm pleased to see Ant's not standing outside the Etihad tonight. I know he's actually live from Manchester, is Ant. And Ant came in to the show last night and said, "How stupid am I going to Manchester tomorrow?" And I think you went straight out the chat, because we're all going bloody stupid because the game's not till Wednesday. Craig, so the first one, Kate's had a dump. You could see the look on her face.
Well, she was late.
The second one, we're coming to, Craig, the aforementioned Danny Ward. He has finally got to go, hasn't he?
Well, interestingly enough, with Danny Ward, I got the calculator out, looked at the stats. And obviously, as with your wages, this is all just off the internet. So played 52 games for Leicester, conceded 75 goals with 18 clean sheets. He's conceded 1.44 goals per game and got a clean sheet in 34.6% of his games. Hermansen, 67 games, 90 goals conceded, clean sheets 14, 1.34 goals per game, so less. Clean sheets in 20.8% of his games. So you could argue that their records are not dissimilar. And in some ways, Danny Ward's got a better record than Mads. Now,
you heard it here first, folks.
Well, what I'm going to say is, my point is Danny Ward a scapegoat? Leicester fans like a scapegoat. Daniel Amati was probably the most obvious one before that. And I think to some extent, he has been a bit of a scapegoat. He's had some poor games. Every keeper's had some poor games. But I think the treatment he got off the so-called fans the last time he played was borderline sort of despicable, to be honest, to pick on an individual. But having said all that, I can see at least 2 of our 4 keepers going, possibly 3 in the close season. I think Hermansen is bound to go. So that leaves us with 3. Kate's just got rid of one of them. I'd be surprised, to be honest. I'd be surprised if Ward was offered a new contract, and I think it's probably best for everyone that he cuts ties and goes and gets a new deal somewhere else. I think we either look then to promote a younger keeper if there's another one on the books, or we go and get another younger keeper to be to play behind the only keeper that we'll have left at the time. But his record is not as bad as the stick that he gets, and and some of the errors and things he does, other goalkeepers would not get pilloried as much as he has, to be honest. But as I say, we all love a scapegoat.
It's that, Daka and Vardy effect, isn't it? Vardy misses something. Oh, it was unlucky.
Yeah.
Daka misses the same shot. Oh, he's bloody shit. Ward came in and let's be honest with you, we'd done all right as a cup keeper.
Yeah.
I was defending him, and I know Ant loves him to pieces, but I was defending him. But the problem with defending him was that there wasn't any players in front of him defending him. So I think he just came in at the wrong time. Yes, was made a scapegoat, but I think you can't keep him at this club now.
I think it's time for everyone for both parties. It's best to part ways now, I think.
Yeah. Thunder Fox, up being Alcudia for 2 weeks. Great breakaway from the football back to reality. Did you go to the Fox's Arms and see Jamie Thunder? If you ever go to Alcudia, he's a big. He's been on this show. He works for Leicester Fan TV. He's a great guy. He runs the Fox's Arms in Alcudia. Do get over there. Not saying you get a free pint, but just say hi and have a look at all the different Leicester shirts. And yet, like you say, Kevin, I don't think it's the one night Leicester won't lose tonight because we're not playing. And I don't think Danny Ward did play last season, to be honest with you. Ant, for yourself, we're getting on to sort of now. These are the players that will expire in June 26. So basically, what I'm saying with these players is, do we try and sell now and get something for them, or do we stick with them in the Championship and maybe extend? So you've basically got three choices, if you like. And you've got a player that I like, and I think, again, talking of scapegoats, he's had that tag this season, but he's been played out of position. And that's, of course, is James Justin.
So, and I'm not going to hear that he's been a scapegoat. He's been poor for majority of this season. And if we're honest, he wasn't great and didn't really feature much last season either. So I think there's the same thing with James Justin that there is with Vardy, but to a lesser effect. Of people, every time they think James Justin, they think of what he was a few years ago, not what he is now. So for me, I'll be selling, and he's one of the first players I'll be looking to move on out of the ones that are sort of that are probably going to split opinion. But for me, I think he's got to go. I think last year in the Championship when he played, he struggled. This year, I think he's been absolutely diabolical. And I do think that there was a good player there, but I think injuries have absolutely ruined him, and I just think he's a shadow of what he once was.
You don't put any of it down to the fact that he's been playing on the right rather than the left, where I know he can play both sides, but up until that point, the majority of his career, it hadn't been in that right wing position.
I mean, it can have an impact for sure, and you'd be naive to say it couldn't, but I don't think that still excuses the huge drop-off in performance from him. It's like he was on the verge of the England squad a few years ago to now, less so recently, but particularly at the start of the season, where every team targeted James Justin as a weak point. And it's like, you can't, if we're going to go through this rebuild and reset, I think those are the kind of players that you've got to move on, because you can't have a rebuild and then keep sort of players like James Justin, in my opinion.
Not even. Sorry, Craig, carry on.
Yeah. And would you say that James Justin has been a victim of the coaches that we've had? And by that, I mean his natural instinct was to bomb forward at every opportunity. When he was doing that, he looked a cut above everyone. That's what got him into the edge of the England squad. He was this attacking right back. And then all of a sudden we moved to Maresca ball, where it's all about keeping possession. And the number of times that you see him, his first thought is go backwards. His second thought is, can I just play a simple pass sideways? You know, so I think the same way I would say exactly the same about Jack Grealish, who's gone to Man City and had his natural instinct coached out of him by Pep. He never takes anyone on anymore. And I do wonder with some of these players that they get coached in such a formal way that their natural instincts are just curtailed. And I know defensively he's been poor, but I'm thinking about him as a forward threat.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, I don't know if it almost feels like he's lost that yard of pace though to get forward. And I don't know, it could well be the coaching, but it's also, you know, before where he would try and take someone on the outside. I think that's a bit of lack of confidence, but I don't know what you guys think. I also think his quality of ball into the box has got considerably worse over the last.
I think it's. I don't think having no one in there.
Good point, Kate. Good point.
No, because like the amount of times though, and he does get down the right hand side and does put balls into the box, and like a lot of the time that is where our attacks break up because they are just blind, aimless balls into the box. But at the same time, you've got to have. I do hear you've got to have someone in the box to be putting them into.
Or you'd go and do, as Doug says there, score it yourself. I mean, he has got almost a tenth of our goals this season.
That's just depressing in itself.
I know. All right, so we have nobody left in this team, are we? We're going to sell him now. Kate, I've had a letter here
from Santa.
Sorry,
from Santa.
It might as well be.
And you answered your wish for like 10 new players.
I was wishing for a lot more than that, believe you me.
It's that letter from Jimmy Savile that had gone missing.
Oh, goodness me. That's hilarious.
I think we've hit a new low here. And it's too late for April Fools.
Oh, dear.
I've literally got nowhere to go with that.
Did he fix it?
He's finally replied.
You know your life sucks when you don't even get a reply from Jimmy Savile. No, you see what you've drawn me in here, Craig.
Sorry. Moving on.
Get me back on track. Even Doug says, whoa. Now, I had a letter off Brad who says, you know, when Kate gets round to talking about Samara, be careful. He's listening out and he's after you. He's in Leicester now, Kate, so be careful. But yeah,
having a vendetta against Samara.
Sorry?
Am I known for having a vendetta against Samara?
No. But you know, the relationship that Brad has with Samari could be described by the gentleman that Craig's just mentioned. But no, do. Let's move on very quickly. Your thoughts on Samari? He flatters to deceive for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I can't even imagine what it must be like to coach him, because you must see these flashes of brilliance in training where you can't remember a more powerful midfielder who can move as swiftly as he can. He's got decent ball control, like way better than Wilf when he's on it. And he could really tear most Premier League teams to shreds, to be honest. But he just doesn't do it often enough, does he? I don't know what he costs us per week. But I think, I don't know, he's cost us so much money versus the reward that we've got from him at all. He's done a couple of good plays. He's been involved in a couple of goals this season. Obviously, there's been a massive development from almost the Ipswich game earlier in the year, where everyone was like, wow, where's this guy been? Is this finally his moment in the sun? And again, it's just not come often enough. I think some games he's been the worst player on the pitch, and that's a tough trophy to win with Leicester at the minute. And he's just been lackluster and not at all what we would want. And I think you've just got to kiss him goodbye, to be honest, because he could well be great in the Championship, but he wasn't worth the risk last year under Enzo. So I can't see it happening now, because it's not to do with his skill or his ability. It seems to be an attitude problem with Samari. I don't mean it's not a bad attitude. I mean, like, you're not sure which one's going to turn up, and he probably isn't either.
Well, this is the problem. I was about to say exactly the same there. You just don't know what you're going to get. I was desperately trying to find someone where it says the wages, and I just can't get it up at the moment. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's had the chances. We always say there's certain players that haven't necessarily had the chances, but I think he has, and I don't think he's taken them enough, if you like, you know. So I would have to agree with you. So at the moment we're dumping 2 and selling 2.
We're going to have like 3 players left to start the Championship with.
Yes, yeah, we might as well do like having 3 at the moment. Well, I know that this is going to be one that we're going to keep. Moving on to Craig, if I have to. I wish I could put a delay on what you're saying now. Daka, God help us. We've got to sell him, haven't we? How many chances has he's had? More chances than Samari.
I don't think he has, to be honest. I don't think he has had as many chances as Samari. Samari's had back-to-back games. I don't think Patson Daka has been given an opportunity.
Oh, he was last season, wasn't he?
I don't think he's been given an opportunity to play consistently without the weight of expectation on his back every time. If you know you're going onto the pitch and every time it's like, you've got to deliver this time or you're out. Having said all that, you know, 114 games, 23 goals, 225 goals, minutes per goal is just not good enough. He's a total enigma for me. At his best, you know, he'll work his socks off and he'll stretch the defence and he can finish when he's confident. At his worst, he gives Bond or Banjo hitters a bad name. I still think there's a player there, but I think we have to be in a position where we try and recoup what little money we can from him. Otherwise, he'll end up leaving on a free, and I'm not sure we'll get that much out of him. The alternative view is that if Vardy leaves, he becomes the main striker and he gets a run of games at the start of the season to see how he can do. The only scenario I see him staying is if Vardy goes. If Vardy stays, I don't see a place for him because you might as well. He'll just be blocking the development of other strikers that we've got at the club at the moment. So I think on balance, I think he'll be moved on.
Have you been reading my notes this week? I was going to say about Jamie Vardy at the end. It's your turn to read my notes this week, isn't it? No, it is. I mean, I think he had a lot of chances last season. You know, he was played week after week and just wasn't performing. And I just don't know how long you give him. I mean, Inacho was given the chance to play week after week for a while and ended up our top goal scorer. And to say that he's now being managed by a manager that wanted him at his previous club and he's still not been able to get a tune out of him, I don't know. I think maybe it's time. I mean, it's costing us 75 grand a week. And in answer to your question earlier, and again, bear with me because these are internet figures, Kate, Sumari is on 80 grand a week, apparently. It's good money, isn't it?
It's not bad. It really is not bad. To be shit at your job, that is not a bad salary.
No. John, you need either buy for these players or virtually give them away for peanuts. There's a lot to be said for giving them away to peanuts and saving on the wages. And Ronald says anyone with 1 year on his contract who's not going to sign an extension or sign an extension needs to be sold if possible. Don't want players running out of contract and going for sweet FA. I have to say, Craig, speaking to the Manchester City fan, Bernard, last night, he totally 100% agreed with you about Grealish as well. On that. So we're selling Daka then?
I think we are.
Wow. Okay. Is there a five-a-side league next year? Because I think we could be down to that. Anthony, Mr. Harry Winks, superb last season, player of the season, or one of them for me. I thought he was one of the signings of the season as well. Is he just a championship player, and should we keep him so that's where we are next season?
I think keep him next season regardless, because I think you've answered it there, but he was fantastic in the championship before. And I don't think we've seen the best of what Harry Winks is about this season. I still think he could have and probably should have shown a lot more. But in terms of next season, absolutely keep him. And I think he was in that top sort of 2 or 3 midfielders in the championship last year. And I see no reason why he can't do that again next season. So absolutely keep.
I would agree. At what point, though? I mean, it was 10 million. So at what point do we sell him? Because obviously, if we keep him for next season, then he will just go at the end again for nothing, won't he?
He will, but I think if we go up next season, I think it's a conversation to be had. It depends on where we are at the end of next season, but I think you've got to keep him at least for next season.
Yeah. Prashant agrees. Keep Winks in the championship. Selling only if we get promoted.
I think there is a danger, as was said earlier. Going into the championship with no extension to your contract. If things don't start well, where's the incentive? To pick it up. Other than you're a professional and you should be doing it. But that you're walking away at the end of the season. We saw that a bit with Tielemans. It's a really fine line to draw as to whether you can at least get an extension of a year for these guys. And this is why, we all think, somebody's shit at the job. It's not easy having to look after all these contracts. And clearly, as we've seen, it's easy to get them wrong, but none of us are in the situation where we've got to make the decisions of whether you give an extension or you allow players to run them down.
I think we could be ending up in the verge of another show there. Great. Yeah. I know where you're going, and I agree with you. Kate, Luke Thomas, I have to say, the few times he's played this season, he hasn't looked that bad. And I think in that left of the back three, centre backs, he's done all right.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, most times I've watched him more recently, I've always thought about something that Craig mentioned a few months back on a show, that he felt from a positional point of view, Luke Thomas is up there with one of the best that we've got. And I've looked at that a bit more since Craig said that. And I do agree. I think he had some shockers in the past. He didn't obviously have a great time at Sheffield United either. But I personally prefer him to VK. That's my preference. There's not a lot in it. It's not like I think it's a poor decision to start VK, but I definitely think Luke, if we get relegated or when we get relegated, he's definitely somebody I would keep. For the championship, really.
No, I agree. Would you then extend his contract if we get promoted?
It might be worth talking to him this summer about a year extension, so that if we do, whatever happens the following summer, hopefully it's a good thing that happens and we're promoted. But if not, we've got some wiggle room. We may be in a different position by then with PSR, and any sanctions are finally sort of moved on in the timeline and out the door. And then we can, with the year left on his contract, we might be able to get some money for him. Who knows? But a couple of million or something. He's been a good servant for us, and sometimes I just think you need to reward that. He's been called upon a few times under Brendan in particular. He stepped into what was a massive breach and initially did really well, and then started to sink and fall back a bit. And it was such a big ask of a really young player at the time. I think it ruined him a little bit initially, and I think you can use him as a perfect example as to why you shouldn't throw youngsters in at the deep end for a prolonged period. But he's done a good job. He always gives his all, and I thought in the game against Villa he did really well. In the back three he's done really well. He's been one of the steadier defenders this season, surprisingly.
Yeah, and a season in the Championship, should we go back up, I don't think we will, but should we go straight back up, that season in the Championship might do him some good. Unfortunately,
might window a bit.
Unfortunately, with your friend Yannick, I think he's got another 2 seasons to go. So he's there with FaZe. Maybe we could do a sell one get one free, a bog off deal. Yeah, with Yannick and Vout, Now, I can't believe I'm saying this because he has been one of my favourite players, but I think now, and I'm sorry if I'm going to pinch any of your words here, Greg, the team sick note, I think, really, Ricardo.
Yeah, he's kind of the Darren Anderton of his day, isn't he? If anybody can remember him.
Yeah.
174 games he's played for us. 13 goals, 17 assists. The problem is, during the time that he's played 174 games, we've played 323. He's only been available. He's only played 54% of the games in the time that he's been here, which it tells a story of itself.
Yes,
sadly, but and I'm sure we're all the same. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a fantastic professional. I think with the fact that we are promoting youth, we're going to have to be in a position where we're promoting youth. I think he is a fantastic role model for those youngsters coming through. I think in the Championship, his experience would be vital. And the fact that we're unlikely to get a decent fee for him, for me, he's one of those players that you just keep. And if he runs it down, he runs it down. Because I think what he offers to the club and the team and the youngsters, I don't see the value in selling him for a couple of mil, to be honest. It's always a risk, but I think as we transition as a club into a club that has to promote more of our youth players like that are good to have around the place. And for me personally, even though he's too often injured, I would keep him.
I mean, Craig, he's 30 now.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying about, only selling him for a couple of mil. If we keep him for 1 season, he's costing us 4.16 mil.
Yeah.
To play 50 minutes here, get injured. Come back 6 weeks later, play 50 minutes, get injured. I mean, if you're talking about a 20-year-old, whilst it wouldn't be ideal, you kind of understand it. But at a yearly salary of over £4 million, whatever we can get for him,
I don't think you can throw all the players away, and that's what we're looking like doing. I don't think you can do that, and I don't think you can throw all your experience away. I think you have to have somebody pulling through, somebody that's the link through, and regardless of whether he can play as much as we'd like him to play. I think I'd rather have people like him around than the likes of Yannick Vestergaard.
Right, that I wouldn't argue with, but so you'd basically keep him for 1 season, and then if he goes on a free,
for me, I think he's got more to offer to the club than just throwing him out. Personally,
okay. Well, it's your decision.
It is.
It is indeed. I'm doing my very best here. Hopefully you've noticed not to say too much about each of these players, because last weekend they accused me every time I did an intro for a particular player of taking all their limelight away.
It wasn't accused. We were just left.
No, you stated it. Didn't you?
We were just left with 0 to say because you just said it.
It was fact, yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that we had about a fifth or even less people watching it, because it was about the 15-16 team that were watching the week about the relegation, which kind of sums it football up these days. But look, the GOAT that is Jordan Ayew, Ant. I mean, he's got 1 more season to go. We're not as lucky, we've got Bobby DeCover-Reid for 2 seasons. Whoop, whoop, whoop. What do you do with Ayew that is legal and you don't go to jail for?
I'm going to be unpopular here. I would keep him for the reason that it's a 46-game season. You cannot play the same front three every single game, and you need some experienced players around, because I'm expecting next year to be a young team. So I don't think having Ayew off the bench or as a rotation option is the worst thing in the world. I don't think he should be a starter, but as a rotation option, I think you could do a lot worse.
Can I just say, Jan, you're unpopular anyway. That doesn't make you any more unpopular than you already are. So don't worry about that. I mean, it's my worry is how many players here are we keeping for next season because we're in the Championship and we want experience, and yet all these players we're not going to get anything for. I mean, if we can get £500,000 for a player, it's £500,000 that we haven't got now. We've let, was it £95 million worth of talent leave over the last few years?
My thing is, he would be, and I know saying back, he would be one of the only experienced heads I would keep, because I know we're going to talk about Vardy later. I wouldn't be keeping Vardy. I wouldn't be keeping a fair few players. I would keep him purely because I think he would be much more willing and happy to do a rotation role than Vardy will. And we'll get on to Vardy later on, but for me, if Vardy stays, Vardy is just the starter, whether people agree with it or not. We've seen it this season. He's been painful to watch at times. Yeah, he starts week after week. And I think regardless, that will continue to happen as long as he's here.
We'll come on to the youth later, but if we're keeping Ayew there, and we'll say this again with Vardy, are we strangling the likes of Monga, Edwards coming through?
No, because it's a 46-game season in the league alone, where you've got some weeks where you've got 3 games. You can't expect players like that to play game after game after game. And you've also got cup competitions in there as well. So I said, you wouldn't put him in your best starting 11. But it's not just an 11-man game; it's about the squad.
I wouldn't put him in me under 12, to be honest with you. Okay, so we're going to keep him for rotation. Kate, what can I say about Connor Cody? 75 grand a week, £3.9 million a year. We're playing him.
Yeah, it's less than Samare though, right?
Yes, it is. It is £200,000 less than Samari. How does he manage? I think Ant's having trouble with his camera here. But, how does he manage, Kate?
Well, yeah, I know. I never get on the players' backs about money because they haven't decided it. Connor Cody hasn't chosen 75.
No.
We've offered it to him. But with Connor, we're stuck with it. It was, I think, a really good signing at the time, and it was just a shame he got injured in that pre-season game and was out for the good duration, which meant Yannick affirmed his position in the side. Really, I really like the look of Connor in the year we went down, but I think we're just going to have to stomach it. I think he will do well in the Championship, and I think we've just got to look to offload people like Woot and have him as one of our main defenders, really. I think he'll be okay in the Championship. He's not massively great on the ball, but you don't need to be. I think he's probably, again, positionally really good. And the slower pace will suit him in that league as well.
No, I agree.
You're not going to be able to sell him. You're not going to be able to get any money for him. So I think we're just stuck with that kind of a player. But I think he could still do a decent job.
And if you are looking, Kate, at a 5 at the back again, so 3 centre backs with Luke Thomas on one side, possibly, hopefully, Okoli on the other side, and Cody in the middle. You know, he's got the experience. I suppose he's like the modern day Wes Morgan. Yeah,
a little bit, I suppose. But you know, he's coming into the twilight of his career a bit now as well. So I just think in the Championship, if he can get regular game time, I think he'll be quite happy, to be honest. And he is always going to give his all. I've never, ever questioned Connor's approach, his attitude, how he tries to get the team motivated. Like, that is something that we've not been able to see the rewards of so much because it's been so poor this year. But he is one of the people that does that and seems to sort of take on the leadership role in some capacity, which, again, we're just really short of. So... I think he could be quite handy. And he's not afraid of getting stuck in. It's a hard old league. It's, you got to be bullish, and there's not a load of players that are prepared in that manner. But Connor Cody's been around the block a few times. You know which ways his bread's buttered, and he'll be absolutely up for that kind of fight, I think, which is why he signed for us in the first place, I would imagine.
Yeah. Craig, going back to the goalkeepers, Stolarczyk. I mean, surely, I mean, we'd all be very surprised if Mads didn't leave. There's no reason why this guy can't step up for us. I think we've all got more confident in him than when Danny Ward came up. But yeah, look, I'd be saying give him an extension now. I
think he's played fewer games than I thought he actually had. 16 games he's played.
Wow.
But yeah, I think he's shown enough in those to say that he's capable of being our number one next season, because Mads is gone. I think he's earned the right to start as the number one next season as well. The only way I can see that not being the case is if we identify a more experienced keeper who offers value for money. There's not a lot of them around. There probably is if you start having a look, but I think he's done enough. I think if he didn't start as number one, that would be a proper kick in the teeth for him, and I think he wouldn't want to play second fiddle to anyone else now. I think he's done his. Yeah, I think he's done his service in behind Mads and everyone else, to be honest. So for me, you keep him and he starts as your number one next season.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you all three. So I'll stick with you, Craig, then go to Ant and then to Kate. So we're just looking at what we're saying here. Winks, Thomas, Ricardo, Ayew, Cody, Stolarczyk. If none of them sign contracts, is it, and the fact that we are more than likely we're going to have this management plan where we can't sign players, so we're going to have to rely on those that we've got. Are we better sort of just holding on to them, even if it means losing them for free at the end of next season?
Well, I don't think you've got much choice, to be honest, because I mean, I'm not as confident that there's going to be some kind of transfer ban, to be honest. I think there's a lot of talk. I'm not sure how that will hold up. But, we've got players who sadly are not worth a lot of money. So you can't just replace everyone, and start from scratch. Because, it's going to be tough enough as it is. You've got to keep some kind of backbone of a team together. And I think it's much more important going into the championship that you keep the players who have some character about them. Like you said, Kate, with Cody. I don't disagree with you about Ayew. And my only worry is, does he have the character at this stage in his career to want to play at second tier football? But I think you're right in terms of what he can offer. But I think you have to look at the character of the players, and then you have to build around them, and whether that's just letting them run it down just to get you through next season, then so be it.
What are your thoughts on run it down so that, because I say if we can't bring players in, and let's be honest with you, even if we can bring players in, there's no transfer ban, chances are we're not going to be able to because we've got these players that we're stuck with. But, is it worth keeping them to try and have a half decent season? Who knows if there'd be a points deduction, and then possibly lose them for free at the end?
If we can't sign players, I think if we can sign players, then it's a different conversation, isn't it? But if we can't, then I think you keep what you have. But I also think, like, in an ideal world, there's a lot of players that I would bin off on the first day of the transfer window. We've also got to be able to find someone willing to buy these players, and some of them are on bigger contracts now than they're ever going to get again. So I think we're almost snookered into a corner, I think.
Would you ever be in a position, Kate, where you just buy them out, or do a deal with them to get them off the wage books, and free up the space to let other players come in?
if you can, I guess that could be a thing, but you just don't hear of it very often at all, because I can imagine there's perhaps some kind of clause where there's a penalty for doing that. A bit like paying your mortgage off early, there's always a charge. It just depends, and it depends what you're going to get with that money. Like Ant said, it's just such a revolving door and a sliding doors moment with transfers. You've got the buying club having to negotiate terms with you, and then you've got to negotiate with another club for a replacement. Like, there's so many plates spinning at one time, and then in the meantime you've got the player just demanding to stay because he wants to see out his contract and just move for a freebie and get a better sign-on fee under the Bosman. So there's so much that goes into it. It isn't really able to be controlled by the club, those kind of decisions, really, unless you're holding all the cards because you're a team that's doing really, really well, and we're not, and you don't hold a lot of cards in those situations.
Indeed. Before we get on to the youth, again going round you, starting with Craig, the players that we could sell. Look, we know Madsen Manson is going to be one that we can sell, and we know probably El Canoes as well. Is there anybody there that are on? If I ask you to name one player that's on a longer term contract that you think we might get some money back for, who would it be? Craig? I know I've dropped you in on this one. You weren't expecting this one. I apologise.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how they come back, you know, obviously Abdul, you know, would warrant would still get a decent fee, longer contract, and I think you get some money back from Mavididi, but you know, I think you've got to be keeping these players. So there's not a lot, to be honest. We don't have a lot of value in our team. Sadly, we've allowed that to happen.
Fortunately not. No, that's the problem. And anybody that you would want to sell?
I don't know how much value he's got, but I think more than a lot of our team, Wild Phase. Think he's.
I think in his head, he's got a lot of value.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what, more than anything with him, it is the attitude that does my head in. I know he makes mistakes, and I know like every centre-back does, but it's the attitude of thinking he's 10 times better than he is. That's what really grinds my gears with him.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, hang on. I don't know what Kate and...
Sorry, Denise Tamalite.
No, I didn't know whether, you've gone along with Craig. I thought, like, hello. Get a room. And he's back. We're tucking yourself in there, Craig.
No, I had to plug in. And the battery on the computer's going as well.
That's what you call it these days, is it?
Oh, he's frozen.
He has. Oh, bless him.
Maybe he needs plugging in.
Maybe he's glitched. I always thought he was a bit AI.
This is the most sense Chris has ever spoken on here.
AI Chris, can you imagine?
Well, look, you lot all disappeared. I just thought I'd freeze for a bit,
It's going well. Anyway, so do we offer Chris a new contract?
No.
I'm reduced terms again.
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
No, Kate, who would you?
I'm with Ant in that I'd sell fast for sure. I don't think we're selling El Canoes.
No.
He ain't done it. He's not done enough yet. He's not done it. We wouldn't get enough money for him. He's not done enough. He's definitely got potential. He scored 2 goals. 2 goals. 1 assist. He's not done enough yet. He looks pretty at the minute, and I think there's something there for sure. But a couple of years, learning his craft in the Championship, I could think he could set it alight, to be honest. And then we can cash in, a bit like we did with Mads. So, yeah, Woot for me. I would still like to try and offload Vestergaard. I think if Championship team wants to really make a push for promotion, maybe if Sunderland lose out or someone like that, there's a big argument there to sell Yannick, because his stock is reasonably high at the moment, I would think.
I think he could. I think there'd be a few suitors for him abroad. To be honest, is whether he would get the wages.
Yeah.
Nobody went for Oliver Skip.
Skippy. I think Oliver Skip will do all right in the Championship.
I was going to say, I reckon he's going to be one like Harry Winks, where he changes opinion next year. And I also think that he hasn't been given enough of a chance yet, to be honest.
Same.
No, I agree. Right, I'm worried about doing this with Craig and the Moody's in tonight, but we're going to look at the youth. Calm down, Craig. We're going to start. Wow, I know. We're going to start with Ant. In the under-21s at the moment, Braybrook. I mean, of all these players, I've got to say each and every one of them should be, for me, moved up. Let's forget the loans. A lot of them have had loans this season, but Braybrook, surely it's time for him to make a breakthrough, Ant.
I think it's now or never, because we've been talking about Sammy Braybrook for about 3 years now, of being on the verge of breaking through into the team. His loan at Dundee didn't go particularly well, but you know what? Sometimes when loans don't go well, you learn more from it than you do when you have a fantastic loan. So I don't think he'll be a starter, but I think he should be at least in the squad as an option throughout the season.
Yeah.
Oh, his internet really is playing up, isn't it?
I agree with you. And this is the thing, isn't it, with keeping too many more established, experienced players, that you end up blocking the bench and they don't get the opportunity to even make the bench. Yeah. And that's been one of the most disappointing things this season, I think, from Cooper early on, and Ruud's just continued it, that we've not seen enough youth on the bench.
And even with Alves under Enzo was like, oh, we'll put him on the bench. He gets the feel of the first team. He doesn't want the feel. He wants the feel of the pitch under his feet is what he needs.
Exactly. There should be opportunities.
If he's good enough, and if he's not good enough, he shouldn't be on the bench. But if you're going to put him on the bench, at least show some intent by giving him something. In the Championship last year was the perfect opportunity for Will.
I think for all of these
Arsenal, I mean, they keep throwing youngsters in, and then they're touted, and they're on the edge of the England squad after about half a dozen games. Yet ours are not even making the bench. There's something that seriously needs to be a change of attitude.
Can I just say the three of you have kept Winks, Thomas, Ricardo, Ayew, Cody. So no wonder these guys are getting a chance. But Nelson, Kate, Ben Nelson, defender, he's been off at Oxford. I mean, again, if we're getting rid of Faze and Vestergaard, please, if there's a God, you've got to be bringing Nelson, who played a few games and looked all right for us.
Yeah, I think he looked half decent, actually, because he's on the right side, isn't he? Which is where Fass is currently. Yeah. So he would be the natural replacement of Wout if he goes, or even if he doesn't go, he can just sit somewhere quietly. And he has done
the little room that what was it? Oh God, what was he called? The Turkish defender. Soyuncu, yeah, the little room that Soyuncu used to go and hide from Brendan. You can go in there.
But yeah, I think Ben seems to be on the more traditional route of having some time in the lower leagues. Oxford obviously wanted him back after he's recovered from his recent injury as well. Yeah. So I really like the look of him. I think he's a good athletic looking player in terms of his build. She's not too short. He seems quite quick. And he didn't look out of place in the games that I've seen him in, to be honest. So I'm hoping that that's just the natural progression of get a load of football under your belt. He's been sent back to Oxford as quick as we got him fixed. And yeah, hopefully he can really start to push on next season.
Player I had completely forgotten about, Craig. Mm-hmm. And he's currently again been injured, but he's at the Graf chap. And that's Wanya Marcel.
Yeah, he's gone for me. I think even when he was getting some minutes in the Championship, he didn't look like a player who had anything special to me. I think he's one-dimensional. I don't think he's got a trick or anything in him. I don't think McAteer is, to be honest, of a level who can play regularly above the Championship, and he's a long way ahead of Marcel. I mean, 9 games for us, 1 goal, 8 appearances in the Dutch league, no goal involvements. For me, he's just blocking others coming through who I think have got more potential. So I'd be moving him on.
Right, fair enough. And somebody said earlier that we're going to lose Monga anyway. What I don't get, and I actually put this to Rob Tanner from The Athletic, with Monga, all right, we've got Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea all supposedly sniffing round him. If we actually were to play him for a little bit, or put him in the team and put him on the bench, it shows a willingness from Leicester to actually try and develop him and play him, and that would work in our favour when it came to any tribunal. But again, Ruud saying, "Oh, I'm going to give these players a chance." He just talks bullshit, doesn't he? But surely, if we can, then we should try and keep this guy.
I think we should be doing everything we can, but I also feel like this is one of those situations that I almost think is going to be out of our control because of the way that the rules are with youth players. But in an ideal world, I think you keep him, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
I mean, Ruud has said, I'm going to sit down and talk to him and show him that, his future's here. I mean, stop fucking about, Ruud, and put him in the team. And that's the best way of showing somebody, isn't it?
It's a big talk from Ruud when I'm not convinced he's going to be here next season either.
Oh, I hope he's not. But if possible, would you try? I mean, look, what have we got to lose? If Vardy's not scoring, Daka couldn't score in a 50% discount night at a brothel. I mean, why not just stick him on for the last few games?
There's literally nothing to lose, and it's like you said earlier. Even if he does end up going, it benefits us when it does go to a tribunal.
Yeah.
But also, he can't play yet, can he? Because he's not 16.
I believe you can play when you're 15. Because what's the lad at Arsenal? Ethan Wanyeri? He made his debut.
Didn't Rooney play when he was 15 or something?
Rooney was 16.
I'm convinced Ethan. Oh, I don't know if it is Wanyeri, isn't it? The lad I'm thinking of, the really young.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced he made his debut at 15.
To be honest with you, if Ruud's talking about including him, then I'm sure we know it's all talk with Ruud, but it must be that if he's not going to say that, if he couldn't play him if need be, he wouldn't. Even Ruud couldn't be that stupid, could he?
He's been on the bench a few times, so he wouldn't be able to be on the bench without being able to.
No.
Play.
No. I was going to check. I don't know if are you checking that, Kate?
I'm trying to. It seems to be a special case.
Yeah, Ethan Wanyeri was 15 years old and 181 days old when he made his Premier League debut.
Let's be honest with you, you've got to be 35 to game at Leicester at the moment, haven't you? Jake Evans, Kate.
Yes, so he's another one that's been widely talked about, isn't he? He can play as a winger and as a striker, and he seems to be scoring for fun at the moment in the academy. So again, it's a bit of another one for us. How old is Jake? I didn't actually check how old he was.
I think he's 16.
Oh, I thought he was older than that. Yeah, so with this kind of thing, we've spoken about this before, where players tend to be overperforming in the youngsters league and they're just desperate to make the next step up, because there's always the worry that they could plateau if they don't consistently get challenged and move up and play with the big boys when they're ready. So I think he has been training with the first team on occasion, from what I've seen from some of the videos like on Instagram and stuff like that. He has been in the mix. But again, if these kids aren't deemed to be ready, then he doesn't need to be staying in an academy setup. You need to be loaning him out. So who knows, next year could be his year, or will we see him get loaned out for proper, to another championship team or a League One team to get a decent amount of football for a season before then being introduced the following year. But when someone's being that prolific and you are as a unit, as a first team unit, performing so badly, I don't really see there's a lot to lose.
No. We will round up with that on the youth at the end. But yeah, I think you're right, 100%. Look, I think we're all going to agree on this one, Craig. Absolutely tearing it up at Cardiff. They seem to love him. Will Alves.
Yeah, it's nice to see that Wolves have taken the lead as well, isn't it? So it's probably we could wrap this up and just talk Championship at the end of it, can't we?
Down, deeper and down. That's what they should come out to at the King Power. Status quo, down, deeper and down.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge season for Alves next season. In that short stint already at Cardiff, 8 appearances, 3 assists. He's making the step up to senior football, getting more regular game time, which he should have got here by now. I mean, we're going back 3 seasons, I think, when he came on in a cup game. I saw him play away at a cup game at Milton Keynes, where he looked good enough to get a run there, at least on the bench, and it all went backwards. And then that shocking challenge, from the Wolves player who put him out and stalled his development. But hopefully he's going to stay injury-free between now and the end of the season, and he'll get all those games under his belt for Cardiff, and then we'll get the benefit of it next season. I think what he needs to do here, start adding some goals into his game. Obviously, he's starting to get forward and getting assists now at the level we're going to be playing at. So definite keep and definite try and get a contract extension as soon as possible.
And I thought this guy had left with an option to buy. I was reading something again on Tinternet the last few days that the crowd, the Sheffield United fans, are actually not liking Hamza Chowdhury. In fact, they're getting quite vocal about his effort. So it could be that they're not going to take that option to buy up if there was one there. How many times do we take this guy back though? Surely now. I'm not sure when his contract is up, but surely the time's got to come now to say goodbye, farewell, thank you, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I've never been as convinced about Chowdhury as some people have. I think for every West Brom he has a Bristol City away, and it's like I don't know. Like, I think you just sort of shake hands at the end of this season and move on. I think it's best for both parties.
He's got a while to go on his contract, and he's not on signed an extension.
So
if you can get money for him from a Championship club, then why not?
Yeah, 2.6 million he's on, 50,000 a week.
Easy.
Jesus Christ.
I know, but I agree with you. I used to say, like, as a squad player, and I've only ever always thought of him as a squad player, but there has to come a time when, as Craig said earlier, is he taking that squad place up from somebody that could be breaking through?
Yeah. I think the only thing that goes in his favour is he can supposedly play right back as well. But he's never played as a traditional right back.
Supposedly, let's just highlight that. Supposedly play right back.
Interesting report coming out today, wasn't there, about the number of younger players who have been involved in first team training over the past fortnight, while a lot have been away. And then as players have started to come back from international duty, a lot of them have dropped back. But one of them who has stayed is this young player called Aluku, who is a right back. So it'll be interesting if he's another one who's going to get a little bit more, at least training with the first team to see whether he's got what it takes as well. But we're hearing about this almost on a regular, weekly basis now, of the next player who's doing well or being called up for England. And this has got to be our club's pathway going forward, to develop and either play or sell youth, because we've seen that it doesn't matter, how much money you've got, you can't spend it, and so you're better off spending it on 2 or 3 quality players rather than spreading it around on 11 players and trying to develop your own youth, and none of that counts for PSR. So, hopefully some of these are going to get the breakthrough. There's one more, Chris, that I'd like to throw.
And in fact, there's 2 more because I thought of somebody else.
Okay.
Kate, I was actually just letting you finish there, Craig.
Yeah. No, sorry, cool.
Brendan, is it Brendan Cover?
Oh,
He's
yes,
at Fleetwood Town.
Yes. Or Brandon Cover, yeah.
Brandon, that's it.
I mean, he can play as fullback. I think he's played a couple of games for Leicester, hasn't he? Did he play in the cup one time? I mean, he was okay. We didn't see a lot of him, to be honest. I don't really know enough about him in terms of whether he would be able to do a job. He's 21, so it's kind of a bit of a now or never kind of age. And I would think that if his loans haven't impressed, or it hasn't, his name is never really mentioned amongst the senior setup, like we hear with Evans and Will Alves and Sammy Braybrook in the past. So I would say it's probably time to reevaluate him and see if he can be sold elsewhere.
Right, so okay, a question mark against him. I'm going to throw one at you, Craig, and sorry about this because this is one you're not prepared for, but I'd forgotten about this gentleman. Sheffield United got injured. I believe he's still back at our club with an Achilles injury. Harry Souttar. I really don't know what this guy's done wrong.
No, I looked at him and because he's still on a fairly lengthy contract, I think he wasn't one that I did much research into. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think he's looked worse than players that we've given pitch time to. That's for sure. And early on pre-season, I think under Maresca, he played at Northampton and didn't look out of place there. Obviously, we've not been great from set pieces, corner kicks, free kicks, either box. So to have someone who's quite aggressive and dominant would have been beneficial to me. He didn't look like he was any worse on the ball than anyone else. He's done it regularly at international level.
Yeah,
it's just one of them that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So again, I would hope that he sticks around and he gets an opportunity next season.
Yeah, he's crocked for a good year, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's what? Sorry, Kate.
He's crocked for a good year because he's torn his Achilles.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I would though definitely, like I say, I just don't know what he's done wrong. And look, be honest with you, we got it from the Championship, and that's where we're going to be. So
one player that we've not mentioned as well, which is a youngster, is Michael Golding.
Yes, indeed. Well said. Yes. So go on then, Kate. You've mentioned him.
Well, I mean, he was clearly a PSR fudge as a purchase. He was clearly a pat on the back or whatever. It just fit into the right hole for financial fair play reasons. So that's one of the major reasons.
I think we were helping Chelsea out there, weren't we?
But Chelsea fans were quite sad to see him go, from what I understand. He seemed quite a bright prospect. And it's just, again, really sad that someone with that pedigree, I think he's 18, he'll probably be 19 now. It's just sad that he hasn't been given any kind of opportunity, even in the cups. Even like that Walsall away. I don't know if any you guys went to Walsall away. It was absolutely a horror show. That's when Edouard came on for like a bit of a cameo to prove that he is alive. He is alive and he has signed for Leicester temporarily. But just in games like that, that's the perfect opportunity to try these players. And it's just hard on the lad. He's not done anything wrong, and I feel like he's been used as a bit of a tool for this financial situation that we're in, and that Chelsea were in as well. And it could turn out to be a bit of a bargain if we can get something out of this kid for what 8 million or 5 million. It would be interesting to see what he has to offer, really.
Talking tools, Ant, what do you think of him?
That's not very nice, is it?
It's like he's surely at some point. I know it was a PSR deal, but like you've got to give him some sort of game time, because there's clearly I say clearly, by all of what was said by Chelsea fans, there's a promising young player there. But it's similar to what was said about Brandon Cover. I just don't know enough about him, to be honest.
He's $8,000 a week. Craig, I mean, look, when you've got, I'd sooner play Yannick Vestergaard's dog than Wout Faes. You know, I just think he's absolutely.
I think Vestergaard keeps the dog on a tighter leash. That is for sure. Bloody hell.
That is true. But yeah, why? You know, when we're doing that, why? And I know Goldie is not a defender, but when we're sticking with players like that, why aren't we giving players like this a chance? What have we got to lose?
Well, I mean, if that result holds tonight, I think that is the nail in the coffin. You know, I think we all thought we were down before, but if Wolves go and win tonight, then I think that's it. And you should be then using the games we've got left to see who you want to keep.
Yeah.
You know, who do you want to keep? Who's showing enough ability if they get 15 to 20 minutes that they can hack it at this level? And you, if you're not doing that, then something is sadly wrong.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I wanted Vestergaard gone during this 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks that we've had off, because sorry, not Vestergaard, Van Nistelrooy. Sorry, I want Vestergaard gone as well, but that's just another story. I was hoping we might take advantage of this because we'll come on to Ruud obviously later, but was it when we took Brendan Rodgers on? If I'm not mistaken, we had about 10 games left that season, and he was able to come in. And we weren't going to, at that point, we weren't going to go down, but he had 10 competitive games to look at the players that he got in his squad and decide who he wanted, who he didn't want. And you're going to learn more if we do get a new manager, and surely we're going to learn more from those games than some meaningless friendly against Burton Albion or Kettering Town, whatever they're called. No disrespect to those clubs. But what do you learn from those? A new manager coming in now would have learned so much more and could have tried the youngsters.
They could, but it depends. I suppose if we're going for a manager that's in a job to replace Ruud, it's not as a tempting position as it was with Brendan Rodgers, where if you get in a new manager now, they're going to get a relegation on their CV, even though it's nothing to do with them. And it's like, I hear what you're saying, but from a manager's point of view, I feel like I'd be sort of sceptical to come in at the end of the season. I'd want almost to come in at the summer and it just to be a complete sort of fresh start.
Okay, no, fair point.
And actually also, if a new manager comes in and there is a possibility of this, but even though we put young players in, we continue losing games though, then that new manager's already starting on the back foot.
Kate, your thoughts? I mean, look, with 10 games to go, if the result stays the same at Wolves, I think that means Southampton are down if Wolves win tonight. Somebody will work it out, I'm sure, and tell me. But I think it confirms that they're down. Do we not, even if it's Ruud, do we not just say, for God's sake, Ruud, drop these players? They haven't done anything. And say to the youngsters, even if it's against Manchester City, Newcastle, Liverpool, don't worry about going out and losing, because the guys that are on 80, 90,000 a week can't play football this season. So don't worry about it. Just go out there and show me what you can do. And that way they're going out and playing without any pressure, but at least got some enthusiasm, which is more than the lot that wear the shirt at the moment have got.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can do it whole hog. I think you can only do that with one or two players at a time. I don't think you can just completely do a full exchange of youth, because we haven't got the cover, and also these players are so young and naive. They need experience around them just to keep them in shape and that kind of thing. So there's definitely an argument for that. But I would also like us to see us tinker with the players that we're definitely going to keep in terms of the senior team at the minute, because it is a good opportunity to see, outside of the pressure situation, who could perform for us in the Championship, really.
Yeah. Tony's just said here, to be able to participate in the Prem at any point during this season, a player must have turned 15 before August the 31st, 2024.
Yeah, Mongo was July. So he does qualify.
Yeah. No, he does then. He does. And Prashant says, well said, Chris. Hope the youth players heard you. Probably not. They're probably banned from watching these sort of things. Right. I actually was on a show last week, and now this one we're going to go round in the order that we've gone round, so it's to everybody. I went on a show last week on Locke's show, Blue Tinted Lasses, and do go and check the channel out if you haven't done already. And we were talking about the next gentleman, Jamie Vardy. Surely, the way I look at it now, because I think he's just got to go, because while he is still contracted to the club, he's got it's like the Mahrez thing, even when he goes for a few years, it's going to be whoever comes in. Well, he's not Jamie Vardy, is he? And while we've got Jamie Vardy, no manager has got the balls to drop him. If Daka doesn't score for a couple of games, right, he's out and he's back on the subs bench. If Vardy doesn't score for 7 games, which he hasn't done, it's Jamie Vardy. Nobody's got the balls to go up and say, sit there with your Red Bull, I'll bring you on later. Surely now is the time, in the Championship next year, to let him go. There's the option of keeping him on as maybe a coach or some sort of, inspirational voice in the dressing room. But as a player, Craig, he's even gone past, for me now, his 10, 15-minute cameos at the end of matches. I don't even think he'd be good enough for that anymore.
I've been really disappointed in him the last half a dozen games, to be honest. And I think Daka would have done a better job. And I think this is sort of systemic of the problems with the whole team. You've got too many players not doing their jobs, and that impacts on others that are doing their jobs. I know early on Ant was giving James Justin a roasting, but I don't think he's had any help from the midfield that's in front of him at all. I don't think any of that back four have had any help, any cover from whoever's played in front of him hasn't offered any cover. And I think Samari doesn't do enough. He doesn't get around the pitch enough for a central midfield player. Vardy, I watch him. You go to the games, guys. It's like he's hanging around talking to his mates, and his mates just happen to be the centre halves, because he seems to have no interest in running the channels, of offering himself. At least Daka does that. He tries to run in behind in terms of in the channels and drag players out. It's so easy to mark Jamie Vardy. And that was never the case. And when you're looking up, we talk about we don't put enough crosses in the box. When you're looking up as a midfield player, you get the ball. You've got to have someone who's making a run, and he just doesn't do it enough for me. And yeah, go and play in the States. Go and play for the team that you've bought and you bought a stake in or whatever. Go to Charlotte under Dean Smith or whatever. But I think, go out on a high. Don't go out, in a mid-table championship team when you're getting 3 goals in and coming off the bench. He should be looking now as this is his opportunity to go. And I think we should help him to do so, to be honest.
And if he stays, again, is he stopping anybody else coming through?
Yeah, because ultimately what you said at the start, I think if he stays, he starts. And I don't think that should be the case, but I think that is the reality of sort of what and who he is. It's like he's been fantastic for us. And I'd argue one of the, if not our best ever players. Yeah. But all good things must come to an end. And you don't want it to get dragged on and dragged on and dragged on to the point where you see his name on the team sheet and you're almost like face palming going, oh God. So I think it's just, end it before it sort of turns sour.
140 grand a week, Kate. I mean, that's a lot to extend his contract for next season. Is it his fault we're playing 2 up front now. I joked the other day you could dig up Bobby Charlton, Jimmy Greaves and Dennis Law and it wouldn't make any difference if you had 10 up front. Is it not all down to him?
No, I mean, I disagree with both guys there. For starters, Jamie Vardy's earned the right to decide when Jamie Vardy leaves, and I will stand by that. There's no way on this planet Jamie would have expected to start every game, let alone play 90 this year. Another point is that Enzo dropped Vardy last year. Vardy knows he's absolutely droppable. The problem is we've spent 28 million quid on Slimani. We've spent 25 million quid on Daka. I think we spent 17 on Ahmed Musa. We spent God knows how much time and money on Nacho, and none of them are any bloody good. And I would also argue that every time we go forward with 4 defenders, Vardy is always the only player in the box. It's our formation is absolutely woeful. Yes, he's lost a yard, maybe even 2, but we don't play in a way where we can execute that very well with a guy that's lost his pace a little bit. Daka chases shadows, Edouard's gone AWOL, and Vardy has to come so deep sometimes, even to the centre circle, to collect the ball in the style of play that's happened under a few managers. So when you don't play to score goals, I've written them down here because I was interested to know. Last game, 1 XGs, last game 1.17, previous Chelsea 0.1, West Ham 0.38, Brentford 0.55, Arsenal 0.22, Everton 0.39, and Fulham 0.47. Does that scream to you an attacking team that's really pushing their number 9?
No, it doesn't. When he's having the when he's had the chances, he's fluffed them. All right, he scored.
So have many others.
But we're talking about Jamie Vardy. We're not talking about many others.
We're not talking about. But okay, how many? Let's just talk about his compatriot then. So, Daka. How is Daka better? If that's your option.
No, I'm not saying Daka's better. 100%, I'm not saying that.
But I don't think Jamie ever expected to play every single game this season. Are you mad? I don't think Jamie thinks he's undroppable. I don't think managers are afraid to drop him. It's just that the other alternative, generally, Daka cannot hit a barn door and he chases shadows like Bambi with no impotence, with no venom. At least Vardy sticks one on him sometimes. But there's no option. You may as well put me. I'm a better alternative than Daka, and I'm cheaper. Genuinely,
well, I would not have said that.
It's that when he does something good, you remember it. You're like, oh, actually, I've never seen him do that before. He has got something in it.
There you go, guys. Kate's a good night out. There you
it's
go.
So rare.
Yeah, and you want to say something?
No, I was going to say saying that I genuinely, and I hate saying this because it's like we all love Vardy, but it's like saying that he offers more than Daka to me isn't true. Like Daka runs for channels, he at least offers energy. Vardy at times,
You and me, we'll sit this one out. Leave these two.
I just don't think he's got the legs for it anymore. And I disagree with the fact, though, saying that I don't think he expected to start this many games this season. You don't have someone on 140 grand a week to be a bench warmer in the position we're in.
You do at 38, mate. He's not going to be.
Yeah, but then why is he being renewed though? Because then that comes back to.
He wanted to stay. He's like, I'm here if you need me, and I still want to play. And that we've accepted that.
Of course, you want to play on 140 grand a week.
Yeah.
But it's not his decision to play him, is it? It's the manager's. And you're saying that they're afraid to drop him. They're not. Enzo dropped him last year numerous times. But
the thing is, I wouldn't say Enzo dropped him. He rotated him because it's a 46. It's a 46 game season in the Championship. You can't play.
Rotated and dropped is the same thing.
No, how is rotated and dropped the same thing?
Because you're not in the team. Because you're not in the team.
Because you can't play the same person every game for 46 games in a Championship season.
You just choose not to.
Yeah, because then you're going to end up getting injuries. It is not. I'm sorry, rotation and dropping is 2 completely different things. Why do you think during the Christmas period in certain games where we were playing weaker teams that it was a weaker side out? Because that side was rotated, not the players being dropped.
I disagree. We'll just agree to disagree.
We'll agree to disagree. Let me bring Craig in on this one. I mean, 7 goals this season, which he only got 3 last season, but it's half what he'd got the season before, which was 15 and 15. I have to disagree now, Craig, with Kate. I think Slimani, when you look at the actual goals that he actually set up, as well as scoring, and I don't think we used him to his strengths with Slimani. And again, with Nacho, I mean, when he was actually given a run of games, he actually ended up being our top scorer that season.
But this is it. I think we've consistently had managers who haven't played a system that gets the best out of the players we've had, and that's the problem. I think Slimani was a really good player and could have been really good for us if you played to his strengths.
Yeah,
and we didn't, and we're seeing it with too many now. There's not. I take Kate's point, but I do think that as the main striker, Jamie has to help his teammates more in terms of his movement. So many times where we're stuck down in the corner and you need your striker to be making an option for an out ball and he doesn't do it for whatever reason, whether it's because he thinks we don't do that anymore, we play our way out, I don't need to offer that ball, maybe. And the other criticism I would say is he's had a lot of chances in recent games for us to take the lead in games, and we don't know what that game would have been like if we'd have taken the lead in any games. May have still been the same outcome, but he's missed those chances. But you're right in the fact that we don't have anyone pushing him, and I think the reality is somewhere between the two things. I don't think he'll want to be playing a bit part in the Championship again. I can't see that. So for me, I don't think we offer him a new contract. We might do it and put it on the table knowing that he's going to walk away. I don't know, but he definitely deserves the right to choose it. But then, we'll also say, why are we paying a lot of money to people who are not going to play?
Does he deserve that right? At the moment, he's done his job.
Up to a point he does. And I think, I think we made a mistake with Schmeichel.
But if you offered me £140,000 when I wasn't doing my job properly because I'd been there 30 years and had a couple of, some very good years selling, you don't give me the right to say I'll stay.
The thing that I do get annoyed with is people like saying he's got the right to go when he wants, and I hear where that comes from. But then you can't complain then when we're getting financial issues when we're offering someone 140.
I think the 140 grand a week is absolute rubbish, to be honest. You just wouldn't do it for a 1-year extension for a 38-year-old. That doesn't make any sense when you've got PSR issues. He may well have been on that before when we got relegated.
Hang on, Kate. You're talking about Leicester City and making sense in the same sentence.
I don't think we'd do it this season. 2 seasons ago, yeah, we probably were, but it doesn't make any sense.
I think what'll happen is that we'll make him a contract offer that is on reduced money and he will decide to go elsewhere. And then it's like we've offered him a contract. He's chosen to take up another offer somewhere or whatever. I mean, it depends. If his wife, goes back to court, he might need to go to Saudi, to be honest, to pay that bill.
Although, isn't she going to be? What's that new celebrity show that's coming out?
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I've read somewhere she's on this new celebrity show, so that may fill her purse up. But Kate, Craig said there, with Nacho, with Slimani, we didn't play to their strengths. We are certainly not playing to Vardy's strengths this season, are we?
I just think whoever it is there, like we've said before, you could have had Haaland and Salah up top for us this year and we're still scoring the same amount of goals. So I don't really know how you can put where we are this season on Jamie Vardy. You can't. Absolutely, he's missed some chances. Don't get me wrong, he has missed some chances. But those XGs I've read out there is because we don't create enough. And I feel like we're getting on at him for not creating and not scoring. Well, you can't be in 2 places at the same time. And he should stretch the defence more. He went through a period of being caught offside quite a lot because he was trying to do that. But the system setup is terrible for that robotic, tippy-tappy, Pep's ruined football style football. It's not at all good for Leicester City. Leicester City is counter-attacking stuff. And the last time we played it? When we won against West Ham. And also, interestingly, that game was predominantly, it was Ruud's first game, but I bet most of the prep wasn't done by Ruud for that game. So who did the prep for the counter-attacking tactics that game?
Yeah.
That's when we were great.
John's just said he ain't getting 140k anywhere now. Like I've always said, these figures are off the internet. I've just checked 2 different sites, and they've both come up with 140. So that's all I can base it on. And maybe not. We'll probably never know. I suppose, Ant. Look, the good news is, if he doesn't stay, we've got another couple of seasons with Dakova Reed.
Can someone freeze him again?
But we have. AU we've got for a. Somebody did say, and I must admit on the show last week, I can't remember who it was, on Lox's channel, saying, yeah, but AU and Dakova Reed, it might have actually been Lox, could come into their own next season.
It's really scraping the barrel there. I really like Lox, but that's scraping the barrel.
Don't quote me. It might have been another guest on his show. I'm not sure, but
The thing is, with Ayew, I at least have a little bit of hope he can be a squad option. I've seen absolutely nothing from Dakova Reed yet that gives me any hope for him.
Scored a couple of goals. He scored as many as James. Again, he scored a 10th of our goals this season.
It's just depressing. Like
that one,
like James Justin, it's just depressing.
You can't say that one that hit him in the face from a yard out wasn't a great finish. Come on,
clinical.
You got to be there.
We'd take that now, wouldn't we?
Daka would have missed it.
You're a Daka hater, but what a great goal against West Ham in that game.
Yes. But how long do you, like you say, he can't live off that forever, can he? And that's my worry with Jamie Vardy.
I think we all know that we've got to make wholesale changes. That the club has got to get an identity back of not filling a squad with old age pensioners because we think they offer a little bit of experience. Football's moved on.
But that was Steve Cooper's decision. It was interesting because he said, I'm not going to fill my squad with young players and then be blamed for going down for not having the experience. Ipswich went the other way and bought a lot of championship players. Neither of us look like we're going to be staying up this season. Who's more prepared for the championship? I'd have to say Ipswich.
But this is a club and this is where our past kind of holds us back a little bit. Because in reality, Ipswich have come up, and I would imagine their thought would be, whatever we get out of this season is experience to take into next season. That we see it as a 3, 4, 5 year plan to have enough experience to get to a point where we can actually stay in the Premier League. And it may mean that you have to yo-yo for a couple of seasons, but that team is going to grow and get experience and then go again. And we went on a route of not doing that, of just hoping we could stay up based on experience. And, it may have worked, but it hasn't worked. And if things don't work, hindsight comes to your rescue, doesn't it?
It does. Look, I was going to talk Ruud van Nistelrooy, but we've gone on quite a while, and I think that could be another show all on its own. But talking about players, we've had players that have done well, players that haven't done well. Check us out. That's not coming up. So just bear with me a second, guys. There we go. Check this out. Saturday at 4:00. The return of the Dave. Dave is coming back for a special one-off. We're going to be looking 122 players we've got to get through. So think yourself lucky tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
We won't be talking about every single one of them.
What year does that start?
It's since King Power took over.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be looking at we're not looking at, we'll be talking about individuals, but we're talking more about each window and the group of players.
Are you sure he doesn't think it's a program about double glazing? That's why he's agreed to come back.
I just can't wait to talk to him about Daniel Amate.
Yeah.
He loves Big Dan. Dave does. He absolutely loves him.
Who doesn't love a bit of Big Daniel Amate? That's what I say.
The original scapegoat.
You need to hide him on the screen again, Chris, like you did last time.
I know. Thank you. Right, I'm just going to just get this back. I'm just going to make a note of that. I hadn't thought about that. Thank you, Kate. Daniel
Chris
Amati.
would, Dave would just be talking about something, and Chris would just put a picture of Daniel Amati hidden on the screen somewhere, poking his head out, wouldn't you? And Dave would be like, "Just get rid of him. Just get rid of him."
I want Daniel Amati waving somewhere. I'm going to try and find a picture of that. Craig,
sorry. Just before we say it, Ant, I've just seen your comment. Please no. Please
yes.
no.
Get him in.
No.
Anyway. Thing is, people think I'm joking. I really want Sean Dyche next season.
Yeah. As you say, Chris, I'm sure there's another show there about who we all want.
No. He's not. If anybody needs to go, please do, because we've been going on. But very, very quickly, and tell everybody what you just put in the internal chat.
Get Dyche in.
Not often I agree with Ant, but I tell you what, 2-year contract. He's not going to keep us up. Red Adair couldn't keep us up. Honestly, if we were sponsored by Viagra, we couldn't stay up. That's how bad we are this season.
What's the point? I don't get the point of someone.
Well, you obviously don't have enough Viagra, do you?
No, I don't get the point of someone who's not going to give your club an identity. We went down with Maresca. We've gone down a route of he's a big one to blame, Maresca, for this, but we brought someone in who said, right, this is going to be the identity of the club, and all the age groups are going to play the same. So when they come through to the first team, they know the kind of football we want to play. You bring someone like Dyche in, that's not going to happen. So you may have a strong first team, but I don't see how, how mmany young players has Dyche brought through?
When you look at his time at Burnley, he did bring through quite a few young players. It's like, and also like he improved a lot of players whilst he was at Burnley because he was on a shoestring budget. I also think he got a lot of unfair criticism for the brand of football that he played. But
I can see the short-term attraction of him. I can, but I don't know what the longer-term benefit is. When you're putting him up against someone like the guy who was been mentioned this week, Rossignol, who did well at Hull. Don't know why he got ditched from Hull. That seemed a strange decision based on the fact that he put a really good football playing team together on a shoestring budget, and he's now gone to Strasbourg and he's on the verge of getting them into Europe as well. That type of manager for me is someone who I think you can see is going to shape the team beyond the first team. Dyche, I'm not sure. Short term, he may get you another season or so, but are we a club that needs that at the minute? I think we're at a turning point that we need to get someone in who we believe can do the job over 3-4 seasons. And, and I know every time we appoint someone, you hope that, but someone who's got some kind of philosophy. And I love the way that Rossignol speaks about football as well.
I do like Liam Rossignol, though. Yeah, the thing is, you look at Sean Dyche. He's done long-term projects at like Burnley. If you look at where he took where they started to where he left them, so.
But that club didn't develop. That became their MO, didn't it? That was what they became known for as a Dyche team. And now you've got someone who's come in there and is doing it a little bit different. They tried with Company. It just showed you that it's very difficult to switch football philosophy from a Dyche team to one. And Everton decided they wanted to just bring someone in who would play the same kind of thing with a short-term strategy. So, as I say, I can see the short-term. I'm not sure for me it's a longer term. I'd like us to be a little bit more ambitious than that.
No. On that point, getting a break in and getting in there, poor Kate, I think has been itching to go. We're nearly finished.
It's okay. No, it's fine. I don't know why you apologise, and it's fine.
Well, we're coming up to 2 hours here at this rate.
We are, yeah.
Next week's show, everybody. Who do we have as a manager next season?
Oh, God.
I'm going to put a PowerPoint together for Sean Dyche.
Yeah. I tell you what, all three of you, you're going to come with Sean Dyche. You can come with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I want all three of you to come with somebody and propose your manager that you want. And
it's like Dragon's Den.
Yes, sell him to
me.
And I will pick one winner.
Yeah, Kate's already thinking, I'm sure I'm busy. I'm sure I'm busy.
Who's going to the game tomorrow? I know you are, Ant. It is tomorrow, Ant. Don't turn up on Thursday now. Are you going?
No, I'm not
Kate?
going tomorrow.
You're not a
I've just
problem.
bought my Forest ticket today, though.
Right.
Well, you're brave. That's all I can say.
Brave
Guys,
history.
thank you. That was a great chat. Absolutely loved it. Come on, Sean Dyche. And I will see you all next week. Take care. Thanks very much.
See you later.
Thanks to everybody in the chat as well. Really do appreciate you coming in and joining in. And don't forget, like I say, 4 o'clock on Saturday. We have got that going on. We're back tomorrow, though. We are back tomorrow at 7:15 for the watch along. Why do I do this to myself? Why, oh, why, oh, why? 7:15 tomorrow. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Ant. And thanks, Kate, as well. I'm looking forward to next week now. Manager talk. But I'll see you tomorrow, 7:15 for the watch along. And if you can stay there, I've got a good question for you. Bring back Brendan. Crash out. We've all got to head off. You don't know that if I wasn't sat on the commode here, I'd be in big trouble. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks very much. Smash the likes. Click the subscribe button. Click on that notification bell as well, and you will never miss another show. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.